Hello, BookTube. We're back for more library touring. We're doing this west wall, or this east wall here. It's all history. So I'm touring my library book by book. It's a fun BookTube thing to do, only we're doing it on this channel in a strange variation without the fun. So if you're not interested in history, there's going to be nothing in this video to interest you. And we have moved on. We're doing just this one bookcase until we finish. The last time we did World War II. And it was a rare instance where things were organized roughly by theme. And I think a lot of this shelf that we're doing today also is World War II. It sort of continues that. This is a September 2018 book by Jean-Christophe Broussard and Lana Parshina, and it's The Death of Hitler. A book designed to dispel a lot of the pernicious myths about the death of Hitler, about a book designed to sort of lay out the case, as it were. It was one of 3 books that came out in roughly a year's span, trying to dispel the idea of any conspiracy theories around Hitler's death, because those conspiracy theories started up immediately, with people immediately saying that, and the Russians didn't help any, because the Russians, when they got to Berlin, posed with a dead body that looked just like Hitler, and then said that either that was, the rival faction said that either that was Hitler, or it was one of the many body doubles that Hitler used. And that just started things going from there. And we have relatively solid, I mean, relatively incontrovertible testimonial proof that Hitler and Eva Braun killed themselves. We have people who were outside the door when they heard the shot. We have people who immediately entered the room and saw the bodies. We have people who dragged the bodies upstairs, laid them in a shallow ditch, and burned them. I don't know what more you need than that, except maybe an eyewitness, although you know that eyewitnesses would be discredited immediately. And this book varies, it verges a little into that conspiracy theory territory, but really this is about the final days and the death of Hitler, seen as a sober documentary evidence kind of thing, as opposed to the conspiracy theories that have Hitler being whisked out of Berlin by plane days before the Russian arrival, and that all of the documents that we might have to the contrary were doctored after the fact to hide the reality, which was that he escaped to South America and lived. And it makes for fascinating reading. I think this long after the fact, I don't think anybody's really harmed examining it one way or another. I don't think, actually, propinquity doesn't matter at all. I don't think anybody should be restricted from examining any of these things. Or, I also don't think that it should be criminal to talk about these things or write about them. But it was an interesting book. And certainly better, although that's not saying much, than Hugh Trevor Roper's book on the last days of Hitler. That is, prose-wise, on the prose level, so much better than this book, but as his colleagues said at the time, there are whoppers on every page. Okay, all right, here's Alan Clark's book, Barbarossa. This is Germany's war with Russia. I have this in a trade paperback from Quill. I think it's been decades since I saw it in a hardcover. Very, very good on a big, big subject. We've seen these one whole shelf of World War II history, and now we're working on a second shelf of history, but I could easily have every bookcase in this room filled with World War II history, and quite a few of them would be Barbarossa and Germany versus the Soviet Union. Okay. All right, this isn't specifically World War II. I got this from Book Depository. This is Ian Kershaw's To Hell and Back in a Penguin trade paperback. I had this as an advance copy. I had this as the finished copy, and then I think I even got the paperback, the American paperback. But I saw this on Book Depository, and I like Penguin a lot, and I like UK trade paperbacks a lot, so I just got it. And it turns out, once I got it, I was feeling a little guilty, and realized I need not have felt guilty, because for whatever reason, I don't have any other copies of the book, so it'll do just fine. Oh, great. Okay, fantastic. This is Michael Burleigh's one-volume history of the Third Reich. Beautifully, beautifully done. Just beautifully done. This is another thing I got. This is a pan paperback. I got this also from Book Depository, because the American trade paperback, I had the advanced copy, I had the finished copy, I read it, I sang its praises from the rooftops. But the American trade paperback, I didn't like the design of it, and I also didn't like the physical qualities of it. It seemed to me a little flimsy. So even though this has what we now view with a grim eye, that the propagandistic artwork of the Third Reich on the cover, I still grabbed it from Book Depository anyway. Okay. This is Jonathan Dimbley. This is the Battle for the Atlantic. How the Allies won the war. He's the subtitle there, the incredibly grandiose subtitle. The How the Allies won the war. There's one school of World War II reading that would say they did it by letting the Russians die in heaps, in haystacks, in order to make that happen. But this is, it really ought to be grouped with World War II naval history. I'm imagining that I don't have a lot of that now. I'm doing this library tour. I'm seeing a lot of the stuff that I don't have. Same thing with biography, which is why what on earth? All that stuff that we were looking at, various fiction, look at all that stuff over my shoulder. All that junk. That, if I could just clear that all out, then I would have all the room in the world for history and biography to expand. Okay. This is another big one-volume treatment of the war. This is Blood, Tears, and Folly by Len Deighton, the spy thriller author. He'd long been brooding and incubating a narrative history of World War II. Wrote a really good one. This is really, really good. So I kept it. I kept it, even though professional historians viewed it as a bit of an oddity. Okay, this is Timothy Snyder. This is going to be full of reviews. Yes, it is. This is full of reviews. This is the trade paperback of his book Bloodlands, Europe Between Hitler and Stalin. This is just sinus-clearing history, just amazing. That's why he has so many critics. But you have to read Timothy Snyder. If you're interested in this period, you have to read him. He's all on Book Depository. All of his books are on Book Depository. They're all fairly priced. So you don't need me to get you copies. Book Depository is wonderful. Their shipping is free and unpredictable. But he is brilliant. Just brilliant on totally revisionist views of the same old facts. It's just hard to synopsize how good he is. But really, if you have a sweet tooth for reading World War II history, you got to try Timothy Snyder. You just got to. Okay, this is Nicholas Starsgaard. This is the German War. A big look at World War II from the German point of view, with an emphasis on German soldiers, German doomed campaigns. Interesting. I thought I had a hardcover of that. Okay, this is another book on Pearl Harbor. This belongs elsewhere. This may be my only other Pearl Harbor book. I have At Dawn We Slept. I think I don't have anything else. Wow. This is Pearl Harbor Final Judgment. And it is more rabble-rousing than At Dawn We Slept, and is all about the factors that we talked about yesterday, where it's all about who was to blame, who knew what tactical and strategic decisions were to blame for this being as bad as it was. Very, very interesting reading. You have to sort of be interested in Pearl Harbor, of course. It's not the introductory work that you would want. It's instead, it sifts the minutia. It does a fairly good job of grounding you before it starts to shift the minutia, but still. And rumor has it that there's an enormous, like 1,000-page book on Pearl Harbor coming out next year. We shall see. I'm all for it if true. Okay, we saw this guy already. This is Charles MacDonald. We saw him for A Time for Trumpets, his book on the Battle of the Bulge. This is sort of the bigger version of that. I have this in a trade paperback only. Also a Quill trade paperback. I wish I had the hardcover of this. Or the American trade paperback. But this is The Mighty Endeavor. This is the American War in Europe. So this follows the American forces. Not so much, nothing in the Pacific, nothing in the East, and not so much British and French. This largely follows the American effort, and there's a whole bunch of books on that subject. A whole bunch. And quite a few of them are good, but it doesn't look like I have any of them. So I'm glad I have at least the one. Since that, from just a provincial point of view, that everybody in America has, or everybody of a certain age in America has a World War II story of some kind or other, a connection to World War II. That's how big this event was. That's why I love reading about it so much. And most of those tentacles in the United States are going to be connected with the war in Europe. Okay, all right. This is Thomas Childers. This probably has a blurb by yours truly. Yes, it does. And this is the trade paperback of his book, The Third Reich: History of Nazi Germany. So this is, by my count, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 4th history of Nazi Germany that I have. Very, very good, and none of them exactly the same. So well worth reading whenever you're whenever you're in the mood. Sometimes these things, it isn't a matter of just a consecutive whole reread. Sometimes I've got a new book on some particular subject, and I will come out here and just consult with what a lot of these authors have to say on that particular subject. I'll make use of the table of contents and the index to zero in on the part I want to read of their book today. And that's why I like having all these different viewpoints. Okay, this is the trade paperback. Boy, this is lovely. This is the trade paperback of Ben Stiles' The Marshall Plan, The Dawn of the Cold War. So this is immediate aftermath of World War II, the gigantic Marshall Plan designed to get the whole of the continent back on its feet. Very, very good reading. Goes hand in hand with the big new biography of Marshall that was so good, so wonderful. Okay, this is James Scott's... wow, I didn't think I still had this. This is from October of 2018. This is Rampage. Subtitle is MacArthur, Yamashita, and the Battle of Manila. So we are slowly moving away. Oh no, we're not. We're brought right back. Look at that. We're brought right back. This is the trade paperback of The Allies Strike Back, Volume 2 in the War in the West, by James Holland. I liked Volume 2. I liked Volume 2 appreciably more than I liked Volume 1, and have great hopes for anything else. This, I think, is a trilogy. I think there's going to be one more volume in this. David Murphy would know, because he loves these books. He likes them a lot more than I do. But I think they're really good, and also really gripping, and slightly different from the diaries and journals level up approach of someone like Max Hastings or Anthony Beaver. So that when we're talking about an introductory volumes to World War II, I would probably recommend these over those others. If you've got time, as the old saying goes, if you've got time for just one book, I would probably recommend the first book in what is going to be a trilogy. Just because I think there's something a little more inviting, a little less daunting, a little less detail-heavy in a big narrative approach, as opposed to so-and-so wrote this in his diary on such and such a day. Oh, okay. All right, now we have left World War II behind. So World War II, amazing. This is just amazing. For the first time, probably in my adult life, my World War II books do not fill 2 whole shelves of a bookcase. Incredible. Okay, all right. Well, this is Hugh Sabag Montefiore. This is his big book on the Somme. So we're moving into World War I. This is just fantastic, just incredible. So many books have been written on the Somme, and yet that one stands out. Okay, this is a Pimlico trade paperback. I love Pimlico trade paperbacks. If you're in the UK and you see some, consider yourself blessed, because we don't have many here. This is the Pimlico trade paperback of John Keegan's The First World War. John Keegan was much lauded and very, very popular military historian. Some of his books, his First World War book is really, really good. His Second World War book is really, really good. He wrote a couple of books on individual battles in world military history and also in the nature of commanding in battle, and they are terrific, just terrific. Oh, great. All right, this is S.L.A. Marshall. This is World War I. In terms of sheer writing ability, this beats them all. Beats anything. Just beautifully, beautifully written as an overview of the whole war. I would still, for writing ability, I would still take In Flanders Field, which I'm now realizing, to my absolute horror, I might not own a copy of In Flanders Field. Oh my God, could that really be true? It's a famous miniature study of World War I. It still covers the whole thing, but not the way this does, not as a big soup-to-nuts narrative thing. Oh my. Well, I think I said this last time. My World War I collection really needs some work. Let's see what the next one is. Oh no! Oh no, we're done with World War I. That was it? That was 3 books. We're on Thomas Costain now, The Last Plantagenets. Good Lord. Thomas Costain is long gone, long out of print. But you can find these books, you can find 4 or 5 of his books in any used bookstore that has a lot of books. In any yard sale, you'll find them. Don't pass them up. He is an absolutely terrific mid-20th century author. Really, really knows how to tell a story. And because he is gone, if you find those old books, you'll also get the added benefit of that musty old book smell that you all claim you love so much. Okay, then we have Derek Wilson's In the Lion's Court. This is Tudor history. It's one of the. I don't have a lot of Tudor history that isn't Tudor biography. I prefer my Tudor history in biography form. But I have this, and this is a study of Henry VIII's court through the guise actually of biography of a group of Thomases, a group of key people called Thomas. So instead of looking at the 6 wives, we're looking at 6 Thomases and how they affected his court, whether it's Thomas More or Cardinal Wolsey or right down the line, even the Duke of Norfolk, and it's really, really good, really, really good. So if you're interested in Tudor history, and maybe the biography, maybe the minutia of a biography is a little bit intimidating for you, then that's the way to go. Okay. I think I got this while I had this channel. This is Geoffrey Robertson's book, The Tyrannicide Brief, about the men who killed their rightful king, Charles I, and waved his head around. So this is the story of those men. It's also the story of the trial. It's the story of the execution, and also a bit of the long revenge that Charles's son, the next anointed king, took on the murderers of his father. Not as much revenge as he should have, but nevertheless. And that does it. That is the next shelf. I don't know why this one was so much shorter than the last one. The last one went long. I guess maybe it was tedious anecdotes. Maybe the tedious anecdotes got out of hand last time. But anyway, that is it. And boy, oh boy, is this showing me what I don't have. Boy, oh boy, is it ever. I am seeing what I don't have. 3 books on World War I. Unbelievable. And also, not a lot on World War II. There should be a whole bookcase on World War II, considering how much I love reading about it. And there isn't. Try still to respect me, book 2. So we will move on. We will move on next time to the bottom shelf of this bookcase. I am now emboldened. Maybe we can get the bottom shelf done in 20 minutes as well. Wouldn't that be great? Otherwise, if we don't start doing that, this bookshelf tour is going to go on literally forever. And yet I know for sure that on that far and blessed distant day when we finish this bookshelf tour, I know that on the day when I say in the midwinter or next summer, when I say, all right, that does it. That is the end of our library tour. I know perfectly well that on that day, dozens of you are going to email me at the same time from different parts of the world and say, can we start all over again? Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So we're done for today. I will wrap this up, but I will see you soon. Thank you, Book 2.